Look at a map of the Earth, and you'll find the tropical rainforests restricted to a very specific narrow belt. They sit right along the equator, trapped between the Tropic of Cancer in the north and the Tropic of Capricorn in the south. This chart shows exactly how unusual that geographic restriction really is. These forests cover only 2 to 6% of the Earth's surface, but incredibly, they hold 40 to 75% of all known plant and animal species. If you try to map all those millions of species onto a flat, two-dimensional layout, the math simply doesn't work out. There physically isn't enough horizontal ground to support that sheer volume of life. To understand how this ecosystem actually functions, we have to look past the map. We are looking at a three-dimensional biological skyscraper. That extreme biodiversity is possible because the ecosystem stretches vertically. Life here builds upward, creating a densely packed 200-foot-tall biological metropolis. This towering structure is divided into 4 very distinct architectural levels: the forest floor at the bottom, the understory, the densely packed canopy, and the tall emergent layer at the very top. Even though they are stacked right on top of each other, each of these floors operates under entirely different environmental rules. They have their own specific temperatures, sunlight levels, and wind conditions. By stacking these environments vertically, the forest effectively multiplies its livable surface area. Instead of a single flat habitat, it generates thousands of unique microhabitats, giving millions of specialized species the exact conditions they need to survive. At the very top of the structure, about 60 meters up, sits the emergent layer. The skyline here is dominated by massive, long-living giants like the Brazil nut and kapok trees. Because these trees punch straight through the main forest roof, they face the harshest conditions. They take the full, unfiltered force of the equatorial sun and constantly battle turbulent, high-altitude winds. Navigating this penthouse level is difficult. The uppermost branches are incredibly slender and unstable, meaning the animals up here must be small and lightweight enough to glide, or they have to be able to fly. That exposed airspace makes it the perfect hunting ground for specialized apex predators. Massive raptors, like the harpy eagle, use their heavy talons and immense wingspan to pluck smaller mammals directly out of the branches. Life up here is completely exposed. Instead of relying on animals to spread their seeds, emergent trees harness those harsh, turbulent winds to scatter their offspring across the canopy below. Just beneath those scattered giants lies the canopy. It forms a dense, tightly woven roof of branches and broad leaves, roughly 20 feet thick. This dense foliage acts as a massive solar panel, intercepting 95% of all incoming sunlight. In the process, it completely seals off the lower levels, trapping the heat and heavy humidity underneath it. Because it is so wet up here, specialized plants called epiphytes, like bromeliads and orchids, don't even bother growing roots in the ground. They attach straight to the branches and pull all the moisture and nutrients they need directly out of the humid air. Without traditional seasons to dictate their cycles, these canopy trees produce massive amounts of fruit all year long. That endless buffet of calories supports up to 90% of the entire animal population in the rainforest. With food and water so readily available, many species never need to leave the trees. Animals like the two-toed sloth have evolved specifically to spend their entire lives suspended in this high-altitude oasis, chewing on the abundant foliage. The canopy is the biological engine room. By capturing nearly all the solar energy and regulating the moisture, it completely dictates the climate conditions for everything trying to survive underneath it. Dropping below the canopy, we enter the understory. In this dark, still environment, plants have to grow oversized, massive leaves just to catch the meager 5% of sunlight that manages to filter through the roof. That lack of visibility drives an intense biological arms race of ambush and disguise. Predators like the jaguar use heavily patterned coats to blend perfectly into the dim, dappled light and shadows of the underbrush. When we finally reach the forest floor, we hit a surprising reality. Despite the explosion of green towering above, the soil down here is incredibly acidic and completely stripped of nutrients. Because the soil is so poor, the ecosystem relies on a rapid-fire recycling system. Swarms of insects and massive mammals, like the silverback gorilla, constantly consume and break down plant matter, instantly turning it into fertilizer that the shallow tree roots can immediately absorb. In regions like the Amazon basin, this floor completely transforms during seasonal floods, creating igapo, or swamp forests. The water rises so high that aquatic predators, like the pink river dolphin, literally swim through the tree trunks to hunt for fish. This dark forest floor functions as a rapid-fire digestive tract, breaking down matter to fuel the entire 200-foot vertical structure standing above it. When you zoom out from the specific flora and fauna, this stacked architecture stops looking like a local habitat and starts looking like a massive, planetary-scale machine. Rainforests hold a quarter of all terrestrial carbon on Earth, pulling toxic greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. Through transpiration, vegetation also cycles water, exhaling moisture into the air to generate up to 75% of the region's rainfall. These forests act as vital global organs. By cycling all that moisture and locking away the carbon, they regulate global temperatures and protect distant regions from severe droughts. It took at least 60 million years for this complex vertical architecture to evolve, but modern industries, like industrial logging, mining, and large-scale agriculture, are dismantling it at a staggering pace. When millions of acres of this multi-layered metropolis are flattened for cattle ranches and monoculture farms, the physical boundary is stark. Removing that dense canopy triggers a cascading mechanical failure. Without the roof to trap the moisture and generate rainfall, the vulnerable lower levels instantly dry out, and the entire nutrient recycling system collapses. The indigenous populations on these front lines protect their ancestral homes from extraction, standing as the final human barrier between the machine and total dismantling. Saving the tropical rainforest is a critical planetary intervention, the final chance to stop humanity from permanently unplugging Earth's primary life support machine.